at chapter 7 of the Gospel of Mark. If you haven't read chapter 7, go and have a quick look before you watch the rest of this video. But if you have, well done you. Now, some of this stuff in this chapter might seem a little strange, because to kind of get our heads around it, we need to understand something called covenant. And Jesus came to complete and put an end to something called the old covenant and bring in a new way, a new covenant. Now, what's a covenant? Well, covenant is a way of relating to God. And these covenants in the Bible were initiated by God. Now, there's several of these covenants, but there's two main ones we focus on generally. And in this context, there's a thing called, which often gets called the Old Covenant, which was the law given to Israel. And there were over 600 rules in that they had to keep. And then there's a new covenant, which is for everyone in the world, and it was paid for and brought into force by the death and resurrection of Jesus. Now, at the time of Jesus, God had been dealing primarily with men on the earth through the instrument and medium of Israel. The intention was that they would be blessed to be a blessing to those outside the covenant, and so people would be drawn into that covenant alongside them. And Israel was meant to dispense the blessings of God to those outside the covenant. Hence, that's what that strange story with the woman at the end of the chapter is all about. What she's talking about, and when she asks for help from Jesus, she's saying, Jesus, they're meant to help me. Even those outside the covenant can be blessed by those inside the covenant. And Jesus tells her, you've given a good answer. So, let's get into it a little bit further. What's the law? The law was lots of rules and commands to be followed that was brought in the Old Testament. It was there only until Jesus came. That was the intention. That was always the intention. And its purpose was to restrain evil and convict people of sin. But although it achieved much of that purpose, it didn't produce lasting change. It was lacking something. That's why in the first part of chapter 7, Jesus is telling the Pharisees and the teachers that although on the outside they appear to be following all the rules, on the inside their hearts are far from God. Now this is what we need to learn. God is after our heart. He's inviting us into relationship, not into religion and rules. God is after your heart. And you see, the rules, that law, it exposed the problem in our hearts. It tells us what we're doing wrong. And it told people how bad they were. But the problem is, it didn't give any ability for that person to change. The problem of the heart being wrong wasn't solved. What is really needed is heart change. Jesus said, what comes out of a person is what makes them unclean. Evil thoughts come from the inside, from a person's heart. So we need a solution to that heart. And this law, all the old stuff, that was the wrong tool. Now, years ago, year on year, I used to ask for one particular Christmas present. It was an electric screwdriver. I saw myself as a budding DIY guy, and I wanted an electric screwdriver. And each year I'd open all my Christmas presents, and it wouldn't be there. Then one year, finally, I opened this box and there was the electric screwdriver. And so with this electric screwdriver, I've got lots of different things that you can fit into the end for all different sorts of purposes and going in awkward places and all the rest of it. It's got the right tool for the right job. Now, if I use the wrong bit, if I use the wrong fitment or whatever, it can make a real mess. It can shear off the heads of screws. It can make holes in my wood. It can make a real mess. I've tried, I know, it's happened. But we need, just like with that screwdriver, we need the right tool for the right purpose. Now, Jesus paid for our sins and our evil thoughts by his death. But by his resurrection, he did something else. He brought into place that new covenant, a new way of relating to God. And so when you gave your life to Christ, when you became part of his family, you were born again. His spirit and your spirit joined. Your spirit came alive. And now he's alive in you. That's where the phrase born again comes from, incidentally. Now he's alive in you, and there's a positive force for change in you and an empowering of ability to change. The power of sin is now broken in your life, and by engaging with his spirit, you're empowered to walk differently. Your heart is changing. You can be real with God and let him in to help your heart. And your changed life will change others' lives. And that's the way the kingdom works. So I'll be back tomorrow. Before I do that, read chapter 8 and I'll see you there.